What is going on today, guys? I'm back in the shop. We've got the TDXJ in the background. I'm doing some other work today. I'll walk over to the table and kind of give you a quick idea of what I've got going on. But today I am working on my primer pump that mounts on the injector pump on my Jeep. So I've been having some fuel issues that I've been chasing, trying to figure out exactly what's going on. And it also brought up another topic that I thought would be important for you guys to consider if you are thinking about doing a diesel swap. So let's get into that. Okay guys, here's the parts that I've got on the table. I'll dive into what I'm doing exactly, but just a little quick bit of information. This is the lift pump that goes on the injector pump on the OM617. So I've got some parts here. Like I said, I'll dive into that, but it did bring up an important topic. And let me get you guys set up on the tripod here. So it did bring up an important topic that I think you guys should consider. And the people that I think this video is gonna be applicable to are people that are considering doing a diesel conversion. It doesn't really matter what vehicle. Honestly, it doesn't even matter if it's a diesel conversion. Any kind of conversion where you're taking a factory engine out of a stock vehicle, putting any other aftermarket engine or something that's just not supposed to be there. I've got some information that I figured I would go over for you guys, and I think it's gonna be helpful to you if you're considering a swap. Before I get into that, check out all these parts. So this is the lift pump that mounts on the injector pump on an OM617. So you've got a plunger here, there's a cam inside of that injector pump that's pushing on this the whole time. And what this is doing is taking fuel from the fuel tank up to your injector pump. And there is a minimum pressure that is required inside of your injector pump in order for everything to operate properly on that OM617. So what I've been having issues with is high speed, high RPM stuff, going on the highway, I'm losing fuel. So I have something, and there's only a couple scenarios that I could think of. Either I've got an air leak. So initially I dropped the fuel tank and just double checked that my line that I dropped into the bottom of my tank, there's no cracks, nothing going on there. So that was all good. Double checked that, I'm not sucking in air from there. The next thing that I was looking into is up around the fuel filter. Maybe I had a clogged fuel filter. And there's two filters on my Jeep currently for the OM617. We've got a pre-filter, which is really small, and we've got the big filter. And I did those, checked all the fittings, replaced all the copper seals around that area as well. So I know that that's not the culprit. The other thing that I knew is there's a little check valve. I don't know if it'll focus on that. There's a little banjo fitting kind of deal here. And what this does is keep fuel at a certain pressure inside of that injector pump. So if my lift pump was doing everything that it should, theoretically, on the back side of that injector pump, this little check valve is gonna keep that fuel pressure steady. And when you pump the hand primer, this is the old hand primer, this mounts onto that lift pump. Hopefully it'll focus here. Give me a second, guys. All right, there we go. I think that's focused. So anyway, that little hand primer is used to prime up the fuel system so that you can build up pressure. You know, if you've just changed a filter or something, use that little hand primer to get that fuel pressure up inside the injector pump so you have fuel in your filters and all that jazz. So either way, what I noticed is when I was trying to pump this, I'm not getting anything. I have no pressure. It seems like it's moving fuel, so that was why I replaced this little banjo fitting with that check valve in it. Because if this is bad, even if you are priming the system, it's pushing all that fuel through the return line back to the tank. Ultimately, what I think might be going on here, there's these little check valves and a little spring, and I'm sure this will not want to focus on this, but maybe it will. Little check valve, little springs. I have the old ones over here. Bought this kit from Mercedes Source, and it took about a week to get here, but it has new check valves. So these check valves drop into the body of your lift pump, and they're also going to restrict fuel movement. So you can't have fuel running right back to the tank. That check valve's gonna stop that. So the objective of all of these different parts is to keep that fuel pressure inside of your injector pump, because you need that in order to have fuel going to your injectors. So what I'm doing is replacing the check valves today, all the crush seals on the lift pump, and I also have a new hand primer pump. But that brought up a really good topic that I thought was applicable to this entire conversation of diesel swaps. And it's something that I have learned the hard way probably 100 times since deciding to put an OM617 in my Jeep. And that topic is parts. So it's really funny when I go to, say, a local parts store, there's one right up the road here by the shop, and I have to order parts for my Jeep. I have a list of probably 10 different vehicles of parts that go onto that Jeep. The shutoff, or I should say the glow plug solenoid, is a Ford starter solenoid. So I need to remember what model and year and all of that stuff if I want to be able to have a one-to-one replacement. Say I'm out on a road trip or something, I need to stop and something's broken and pick up parts. In my head, I need to mentally remember every single vehicle that has a part donated to this build, and it gets super complicated. And the other thing that you're gonna notice, as soon as you do a swap with something like a Mercedes diesel, which is now 40 years old, the engine, 35 years old. Let me do some math there. Probably about 40 years old. You've got an engine that most auto parts stores are just not stocking anything for. On top of that, it's a European diesel. So when you need stuff and you need it now, you wait. And that's one of the things that I just wanted to go over, and it's something that I definitely think you guys should consider, because it does affect things, especially because this is my daily driver. So when I have issues with this and I need to buy parts and it takes a week to get these parts, and Mercedes stores ship them very quickly, I'm not upset about that at all. It's just the reality of doing a diesel conversion like this. And it's one that when I got into it, I really didn't think about too much. I mean, I knew I had some parts that probably would go bad and I would have to order and have on hand, but I just didn't realize how many parts you would have to order from certain places way ahead of time, way before you have an actual crisis. You need to have those parts on hand. So in the description, one of the ways I'm gonna help you guys if you decide to do the OM617 swap, I'm gonna actually drop some links to some of my favorite places that I purchase parts. Just keep in mind, these are not affiliate links or anything. I'm not getting kickbacks. I just wanna help you guys out, especially if you decide to go with the OM617. If you go with, say, a Volkswagen, a TDI, or something like that, you might find that because it's a more modern engine, you may not have some of those issues with getting parts like this. You're still gonna have that same scenario where you have to remember what vehicle you bought parts from and that you donated to your build, but it may not be as critical depending on your engine. So when you're choosing engine choice, if you live in somewhere that's super remote or there's no auto parts stores around or stuff just takes forever to ship to you, maybe an OM617 is not the best deal for you. But if you know that you have an industrial place that sells parts for all Cummins engines, maybe one of the Cummins variants does make more sense, or maybe a Volkswagen makes more sense. You know, when we get into things like 5.3 liter V8s, parts are everywhere. On top of that, on say a GM 5.3, there's not a whole lot of external stuff. You know, they don't have these crazy lift pumps and all these weird things that diesels have. Diesels are definitely unique, and there's some quirks that come along with the territory of doing a diesel swap. But above all else, guys, one of my tips that I would recommend for you is get a notebook and write down every make and model of key components that are not easily found and keep track of all of that stuff, because it's gonna save you some time, it's gonna save you some energy and some heartache as you are seeing parts break. So that's it. I'm gonna get back to work. That's all I had for you guys today. Just wanted to encourage you to be very strategic with the swap that you decide to undertake. Make sure you're doing your research, and definitely make sure you have your sources for parts figured out. And check my link in the description, because I'm gonna have a couple of those different places that have treated me really well, and I've shipped stuff extremely quickly. With all that being said, guys, this is a new channel. I just want to recap this channel one more time. All of my Jeep content is now landing here: overland stuff, off-roading, adventure stuff. Right now it's a lot of tech and how-to and just some backgrounds of the build and stuff like that. So hopefully that's helpful to you, but I would appreciate if you guys subscribe, leave me a comment down below and let me know what information you want to know about this diesel swap. If you have questions at all, I can definitely help you out. Just leave a comment and I will respond to those as I see them. Guys, until the next video, stay well. I'll see you in the next one.